tonight.
Hello, I'm Nicole Dyer Griffith and welcome to Real Life with Nicole. So the secret is out. I know many of you have been wondering over the past few episodes, how come Nicole looking like she put on so much weight and her face looking nice and rosy? I have been inundated with the different comments and so on. So that everybody knows, I am gravid. That is the medical term of with child. And as a result of that, someone gave me a present of a book. And the name of the book is The Secret Life of the Unborn Child. And it was whilst reading this novel that I came across the concept of original pain therapy, because one of the persons in the book started to speak about something similar to regression therapy, where they spoke about the experiences they had from the life in the womb come forward. And I found that to be absolutely fascinating. It was a little bit unbelievable. And so I continued reading to find out a little bit more of this specific type of regression therapy, particularly as the last program we had done was based on school violence, and we were looking at different types of solutions to treat with these issues. And so fortunately, a very good friend of mine is an original pain therapist, and I felt that it would be quite an intriguing program for us to have a conversation around the concept of original pain therapy and for her to guide us through what are the parameters of this type of therapy? Is it really related to regression therapy? How can it be utilized in the treatment of certain disorders? Can it be utilized in the treatment of disorders? And then we'll have a conversation with persons who actually underwent this original pain therapy and how it impacted on their lives. But before we get into the interviews, I'd just like to thank Mr. Roper and the staff, because we're here at the fabulous Botanical Gardens. And you know, it's Easter time, and many of you may be wondering, what do I do with the young ones? But this is such a fantastic place, and if you just look around, it is so serene, it is clean, it is amazing. So I would encourage all of you who are looking for somewhere to bring the young children just to run, to have a picnic, just to look around at the historical sites. The Botanical Gardens is a fantastic place to be. So thanks again to Mr. Roper and the staff of the Botanical Gardens. So let's have a look and a conversation about original pain therapy. I'm Nicole, and this is Real Life.
Who smell good vegan jar? And in the news tonight.
Oh, what a great situation. What really going on in the nation? Oh, what a great situation.
I'm here with Mrs. Lorraine Pouchet, who has been an original pain therapist for over 20 years. So it's my pleasure to have her take us through the trajectory of this type of therapy called original pain therapy. Lorraine, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Nicole. This is something that you're very welcome. You know, I'm very passionate about this. I've been talking to you about this, so it's really good, and I'm happy that you read it.
So tell me, what is original pain therapy?
Well, original pain therapy is a type of psychology. It's one of the methodologies that exist to be able to help people to deal with their emotional issues. But what most people don't know is that it is the fastest way to access your issues that affect your behaviors. What we believe is that from conception to about 12, there are 5 stages of development of the human being. So you have prenatal, which is what you went through, infancy, toddler, preschool, school age. And this all culminates in adolescence, which is where we see some negative things may arise and we don't understand where it came from. You have what we call repressed emotions. So as children growing up, and from even as far back as in the womb, we are exposed to things that are not positive. You know, and as a result, we develop what we call ego defenses or coping mechanisms. Now, original pain therapy is based on the inner child. That inner child theory. I don't know if you ever heard about the inner child theory, where we believe that depending on the stage of development that you were at, if something happened, if your needs were not met, or if some trauma was perpetrated on you, you developed a way of coping with it so you could navigate that time and be able to survive to reach adulthood. However, that type of, that repression actually informs your behavior and how you behave as an adult. And that's why sometimes we will see people like that and we'll say, but he's getting on like a little child. And yes, he is, because he's connecting to the age of the child where he represses emotions. So what we do in the original pain therapy, we regress you. We regress you from adolescence all the way back into the womb, where we try to discover where was the point of original pain. Where did things first start to go wrong? What is the thing that colors your behavior? And once we find that, what we do is we help you to deal with it, because it's a grieving process. Because if your needs are not met, you've lost something. So it's at a grieving process we need to take you through. We help you to grieve the loss of what you didn't get that you should have, or if you lost something because of what somebody did to you, we help you to move through that and replace the negative behaviors with more positive behaviors. But you must first be able to identify why. We know why sometimes in our head, and they say the longest journey is from the head to the heart, but it has to transform to something that is very real within yourself, that you can see it, feel it, know why. And there's an explanation for your behavior. I can talk about myself when I give an example of that. I had done this original pain therapy 20 years ago when Sister Helena Profero asked me if I would come into the work with her. Through an interaction that we had, they discovered I had a little gift for counseling, and she felt I could develop it. And I got involved with her, and I studied this whole original pain therapy, and then of course I had to go and get a piece of paper that says it's okay to practice it. It's one thing to know it, but you have to be qualified and certified to do so, which I did. And in the process, I had to actually go through the therapy with her for myself. And I had been having these feelings every so often throughout my life of depression for no reason, little sadness for no reason, feeling alone when I'm surrounded by people, and I could not understand what it was. And we discovered what it was when she regressed me back to the womb, in the fact that my mother got married. She's a St. Lucian, was a St. Lucian, to a Guyanese, and they came to Trinidad to live. She knew nobody. She got pregnant with me. She was lonely. She was sad. She was depressed. And her overwhelming feelings became part of my personality. So for me, once I understood that that was the genesis of those feelings, and it was nothing in my real life and my day-to-day life, I was better able to deal with it. And I had to go through a little methodology, which I wouldn't discuss on camera because that's part of what we do, and I won't want anybody trying to do it and they don't know what they're doing it. Where I gave back mommy her pain, and I gave her back her sadness, and I gave her back her depression, because that's not me. So then I am now free, and I'm glad you chose outdoors, it's so beautiful. I am now free to be the person that I was created to be, and not just an extension of my mother and her feelings. Because if you read that book carefully, you will understand how important your feelings are to that unborn little one that you're carrying. Because everything that you feel, all your emotions, your anger, your sadness, your happiness, your joy, whatever it is that you're feeling, is actually being transmitted to this child through your hormones and through the blood that goes through the umbilical cord and feeds this little one.
And that explains,
you know,
why Gary's hyperactive.
Yeah, because you are hyperactive, but you need to keep calm if you want to calm on, right? I'm just letting you know. So basically, that's the power of this. It's a very, very powerful tool. And what is even more important is to know that with this original pain therapy and the regression methodology that we use, we can have somebody on their feet, empowered to be themselves within 4 to 5 sessions. This is not 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. This is almost immediate results. John Bradshaw was the one that really, he's a psychologist out of the States. He's about 92 now, John. But he really pioneered this thing in the United States. And it all had to do with helping family systems. And I saw in your opening, you spoke about what is happening with our family systems, what is happening in this country. And the genesis of all these problems, we can put all the plasters on the symptoms, but if we don't get down to the root causes and realize that families are in serious jeopardy, not just because of the choices that they make, but the choices that they involuntarily make because of what has been passed on from generation to generation. What was supposed to be good child rearing 50 years ago, we don't consider it good child rearing now.
Yeah.
And that is because through research and so on, we have discovered what problems can be attributed to the type of methods that we use in correcting children. You spoke about the violence. What we discovered in the research that we did, and there's still research going on all over the world about this type of thing, is that unwanted boys turn to social violence. and deviance. They are deviant and they can turn to violence. Unwanted girls can become promiscuous. And if we look at what is happening with our youth in our society now, what we can see is that we have a rash of unwanted babies. I went further to explore that and found out that there's some research that was done both in England and the United States that 66% of women who are pregnant do not want to be pregnant.
This is where?
In the States, in the United States and in England, that 66% of women who are pregnant actually do not want to be pregnant. Now that is an amazing thing, because if I'm carrying an unborn little one inside of me and I don't want him or her, that is being transmitted from me to that child. They know they're not wanted. And then you find as adults, oh, I can't get along with my mother, I don't know why. And all these issues come up. We've had incidences of, this is a good example, like a news. This young woman came to us to do the course, because we do a course also to help people to understand. And she said, I don't know what's going on. I'm supposed to treat my mother in a particular way. According to the Bible, it says, honor your mother and your father. I do everything that I'm supposed to do for her, but I don't like her. I don't want to be around her. And she didn't understand why. And she thought that she was sinning to have those feelings. And we said, okay. So we took her through the therapy and so on. And what came out is that when she was in the womb, her mother tried to abort her. She connected to the burning and the singing of the liquid that was used and everything. And she had to be brought to a point of forgiveness of her mother to be able for her to be healed, for her to move on, because she found difficulty in trusting people. And that's where it came from. Because if this woman who is supposed to want me doesn't want me, how can I trust anybody else to be straight and open with me and to really say to me what they mean to say to me and show me that they really want me? So she had difficulty trusting, and she also had difficulty having a proper relationship with her mother. And that is where the root cause was.
What is the science behind this type of therapy?
The science behind this type of therapy, difficult to say that it is a particular science, but what we do know is that memories are stored up in our cells. There's a fantastic word called memories in the cells. I should have worked with it today. Memories are stored up in our cells, so that from the second of conception, we don't forget anything as a human being. It may not be in our conscious all the time, because we operate at 3 levels of consciousness. What's happening now is our conscious. Subconscious is what we can say, oh, last week I did this, and we can recall that and bring forward the details of it. But there's also the unconscious level, where we don't remember every day, and we drop things in there that are painful, or we drop things in there that we just don't want to see, okay? And therefore, we think it has gone away. It hasn't gone away, because it's in our cells. Our memories live within us. And this is why you will notice over the last maybe 20, 30 years, there are quite a few of the religious organizations are talking about generational healing and the sins being passed down and the trauma being passed down, because it is genetically in the cells and also in the behaviors that we see happening that we replicate, okay? So it is based on that type of research. It's also based on psychologists and psychiatrists actually going through these methodologies and testing it out on people and seeing the kind of results. Like you said, when you read that book, you found it hard to believe. When I was first introduced to this, I said, sister, you're crazy. How can you do something like that? And my point of awakening came when I was working with St. Jude's Home for Girls. They were twin sisters. One was in the home, one was out of the home. One was with her family. And I was asked to work with both of those children. And they were twins. And they had the exact recall of their experience in the room without any collaboration. And that actually blew my mind. I said, but this is amazing. So the human being has so much in us that we don't use and we don't even recognize it. You know that we only use about 10% of our brains. So you could imagine if we were to really use the other 10%.
So how do you regress someone to that point?
It's quite natural. There's no hypnosis and there's no black magic. It's natural. And once you can trust your therapist, we can get you to the point where you relax, you open up, and as we go through it, you think that I'm just very casually taking you down a walk through your past. But once there's something there, it will just surface like that. Whop. And it will come to the surface, and I'll say, and of course I'm trained to look for different signs and so on, and I'll say, oh, that's what I need to explore. And it comes out. And most times people end up connecting very emotionally. They can cry and they can, I mean, I remember this particular gentleman, a doctor, actually went through his birthing process in front of me in my office. Fetal position, everything, and spoke about When he came out, how cold the room was, because it was a theater which was highly air conditioned, and he was shivering, and it was not an act. He was actually reliving his birthing process. And you know, so that it's there to explain to you scientifically A, B, C, D. I can't do that, but I can tell you through practice and through working with many clients, I think thousands by now, over the 20 years, that this is what we see. And we do know that the power in this thing is that it can transform almost immediately, because most people continue with their behavior when they don't understand the root cause of the behavior. But when they understand the root cause and they realize it's not that I am bad, but that something bad happened to me, then I can treat with it, because then it frees them up to understand that, oh, I have some control over this. I have some control over this, and I can make a decision to do the things that I need to do. So once we have discovered that original pain, we work with the inner child, for the inner child, and the inner child will tell you what you need to do to deal with it. And then we sit and we work with you and help you to set some goals for yourself. And once you set those goals, we do a little follow-up session. 1 or 2 is required to ensure that you are keeping on the path to get your life in order and to be empowered. And the amazing thing, Nicole, that I have found is that when we are trapped in what I call emotional bondage, it inhibits our ability to achieve our true potential. What God, the Creator, created us to have and to be. A lot of people have tremendous skills and talents, but it never comes to fruition because they are so busy protecting their psyche from pain and from hurt that they don't focus on being adventurous and moving that step forward. Can I share another example with you? There was this young woman who came, and we found her original pain was fair, and it was lodged in the womb. So we have to release her of that. She was studying science, and she wanted to be a scientist and to do explorations, but she had never ventured into that. She had a very good office job that was boring her to tears. She thought she was going to die of boredom before she reached the age of 30. And she had fear. Fear was the motivator. And once we worked with her and freed her, we set some goals, and she went off. About 6 months later, I'm dressing to come to work, and the television is on, and I'm hearing about this expedition up in the Antarctic. And there's only one female on board this ship up in the Antarctic, and she's a Trini. Well, of course, I had to go back and say, well, who is this little Trini? You know, and there is my client on a ship up in the Antarctic doing research. And when they interviewed her, she didn't say the word OPT, but she said she had a life-changing experience that showed her that she can do whatever she wanted to do if she believed in herself. And that is what brings me joy. When I see those type of things happening and people are free to fulfill their potential, I mean, that's just an amazing moment for me.
Closing comments.
Closing comments. We do this thing in 2 parts. There's original pain theory, and there's original pain therapy. The theory is a 5-part course, 3 hours, 1 day per week, where we actually go through the process from birth to teenager and the 5 stages and explore what should have happened if it didn't happen, how you could be coping with it. We do some experiential exercises within the group, and the group dynamics are very powerful. The group tends to gel and become family by the time they leave. And coming out of that, if you have discovered or you suspect that there are issues that you need to work with, then you come in for your private sessions where your business is dealt with in a private and safe environment where we will do the therapy with you. And what we have found is that some people will do the course and feel they don't need to come back and do the therapy. That's fine. When you're ready, you will come. I have people who come to me 10 years after and say, I'm now ready to do the therapy. That's okay, because it's at your time and in your space and at how fast you want to move. So I would encourage, and I think also too, apart from people wanting to do that program and that they should do the program, I think also too, it is a way for us to start healing families and helping people to understand that they don't need to behave the way they behave all the time. They can get help, you know, and once you can heal a mommy and a daddy, and maybe just briefly, let me just show you this. I should have showed you this before. Look at this. This is your teenager. That's the 5 stages of development. Prenatal all the way up to school age and then the adolescent. And who has produced this child? Mommy and daddy through the genes. And you see they have their little inner child. Yeah. If they haven't dealt with their issues, you have an inner child trying to parent a child. And then you have all the influences of church and school, the environment. And of course, in Trinidad and Tobago, our very challenging socio-cultural type of environment.
Yeah.
So all these things form who we are. And some is positive and some is negative. So we need to identify the negative and deal with it, basically. I want to thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for
I
being
really
here.
appreciate it.
I enjoyed it. I still, I'm listening and I'm hearing and I'm internalizing. And I suppose when we have a chat with some of the persons who actually
Yes.
experience it, so that we can really connect with what you're talking about in terms of the theory and so.
And not because you're with me, you can't come and do it. I will welcome you to join one of my courses, and I will welcome you to try the therapy if you believe that there's something that you need to check on to make sure that everything is all right.
Okay.
Okay?
This is real life.
I want some good news today. Oh, what a grave situation. What really going on in the nation? Oh, what a grave situation. Oh, right now we in a spot of moderation, and like we heading for some further tribulation. Oh, what a grave situation. Oh, I want some good news today. Yes, that is what I say. Give me some good news today. That is what I say. I want
Joining me now is Miss Onika Sargent, who will share a little bit about her experiences, her life experiences, her real life experiences. And then she's going to share as well her experiences of having undergone the original pain therapy, and then, where she's at now. So thank you so much, Onika, for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Nicole.
So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Born and bred Trini, but migrated to the U.S. about 1996, where I lived for almost 18 years. And life went well, things were great, but I had a sense of not belonging while living there. So I decided to return home and with my children and kind of look for closure in my life, because I felt like I had this big opening, not sure what was going on, and just needed change. I felt like a burning desire to change my life. I had accomplished so much in the U.S. living in New York. I had my degree, I had my children, I had a wonderful job, but I kind of left everything behind to come home, to find my roots. So in coming...
Do you mind if I ask you stuff?
Absolutely.
You mentioned that you wanted to find your roots, but yet still you left your roots.
I left my roots for that pie in the sky dream when I was much younger. Wanting to go to school, wanting to accomplish these magnificent goals that I felt like I could not do here.
Right.
So I went off on a temporary vacation and ended up staying much longer than anticipated. So in that process, I was able to learn about myself spiritually, but I needed an emotional connection to something. And leaving my family, I had no one there. It was just me and my kids and, my mates, and I felt very disconnected emotionally. Though I had a family, I had this intimacy of a family, but I felt emotionally disconnected. And I felt leaving my family behind, my mom, my dad, my grandparents, I left a very wide open door. And I needed to come and close things to see who I really was emotionally, because I felt so detached. And I gave everything up and I left, and I've been back 2 years.
With your kids?
With my kids, and we are settling in quite nicely, but the major transition of leaving as a young lady and a teen practically and coming back as a full woman, things have changed, and I expected to just come and fit in, and I met many obstacles as a parent, as a daughter, as a granddaughter. Everything was just so different than I left. So yet again, that desire, that detachment was just uprising more than it needed to be, and things weren't going quite as I expected. So I was unemployed for a while by choice, and deciding to take the time to see about myself, to raise my kids, get them settled, and then eventually I got very restless and very lost in Trinidad. And nothing seemed to fulfill or fill that void of, you know, finding that connectiveness. Everything was great at the moment, coming off of the plane. Everything was wonderful. And then there was nothing. There was nothing. There was that huge void again. I couldn't connect with my parents. It was hard to genuinely connect with them because I felt like I had grown so much and yet lost, you know. So eventually I started working, and a coworker of mine mentioned Lorraine's name. And I told her my struggles, and every day I sat on the bench at the job and I was like, you know, I don't know, I'm feeling so lost, I'm feeling so disconnected. I just need to find my place. I have this wonderful job now. I love what I do because I teach. And but yet she sensed that something was amiss, and she just mentioned Lorraine's name, and she's like, maybe you should give her a call. And I did. And my first session with her, I was not at all leery about going because I needed to find something. So I was willing to do anything. I read all these self-help books, and you know, they worked fine, but I needed to just let something out. Some inner voice was just kind of trapped. Everything was trapped inside. And my first session with her was wonderful. I was able to open up immediately. I felt really comfortable, but it also brought out a lot of stored emotions that that I didn't know I had. Things that untouched, that I kind of put behind closed doors for so long, and I was able to comfortably open up with original pain therapy. So after a few sessions, the second session, all my sessions went really, really well, and it progressed to the point of me kind of, I call emptying my soul from all of that baggage that I had no idea that I was carrying. And through one of the...
So where did the baggage come from?
The baggage came from family. It was just environmental. It was my family, things that weren't addressed, situations that were swept under the rug, and just pure observance of your family dynamic and not being able to speak up, not knowing what to do. You just kind of accept what's happening in your family. You don't say anything. And I internalized a lot of my family's pain, my immediate family's pain, my grandparents' pain, just in observance, and I took it all in, and I felt like I needed to be the martyr for that, for my family. But it was a job that I wasn't able to do. So that was part of the reason that I left, because it became so heavy that I just wanted to run. And I had the opportunity to go to school. I took it immediately without a second thought, and I just left. And not that I kind of didn't turn back until I returned home, because I spent 18 years away from Trinidad. So original pain therapy helped me crack that part of my soul that needed to be open, because I felt very broken, and it helped me heal myself, which is what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be dependent on one particular thing, one particular religion, one particular philosophy. I wanted to be able to tap into myself, tap into my soul, and ultimately heal, be a better mother, be a better woman first, and be a better individual and a family member, because I was not being the best that I could be. So it took me back, and I knew this therapy took me back to where I came from in order for me to move forward to who I would become, who I am becoming right now.
How far back did it take you?
I was 3 years old. I remembered things from 3 prior to that, not really, but I remember scenarios, I remember words, I remember situations as young as 3 years old. So it kind of helped me see what was the foundation of my pain and being disconnected. So it really helped me. I'm very grateful for that opportunity because steps and stages, things were happening. I was making progress, like I said. But there was this one thing, that emotional disconnect, that detachment. I just couldn't understand, and I wanted to feel attachment to something, emotion, something. And so it has helped me become a better person. I mean, I'm still daily, it's still not necessarily a struggle, but I'm more conscious of my choices. And I know that I am able to make a choice as opposed to just living by default. So this has helped me be more conscious as an individual, as a woman, as a mom, as a teacher, as just a human being. I feel free. I'm able to just exist, and to exist in the society and not be overly concerned about what other people think, what society thinks, but more comfortable within myself, and most importantly, be more emotionally connected to who I am. And original pain therapy has definitely helped me in that journey.
This has been Onika, and that was her real life.
I want some good news today. Oh, what a grave situation. What really going on in the nation? Oh, what a grave situation. Oh, right now we in a spot of moderation, and like we heading for some further tribulation. Oh, what a grave situation. Oh, I want some good news today. Yes, that is what I say. Give me some good news today. That is what I say. I want a day when nobody didn't kill nobody, and nobody didn't shoot nobody, and nobody didn't hurt nobody. No.
To have Damian and Teia joining us now to share their experiences of the original pain therapy. Thank you so much for joining me, Damian and Teia.
Thank you, Nicole.
So, similar to the former guest, I'd just like to find out what was your experience before and why you sought the original pain therapy, and what has been your experience after.
I'll go first. Before I met Teia, I was a very happy-go-lucky character, easygoing, nothing disturbed me too much. And then I started to do school. My degree, I did my first degree in marketing, and during that process, life became a lot more challenging. It was very demanding in terms of time, and everything seemed, I gave up a lot of stuff in order to facilitate that, and the whole dynamic changed. I became a different person to the extent that I couldn't characterize myself. So when I met Teia, I was dealing with a lot of personal issues, and a lot of people asked how I knew she was the one. I just knew. And I knew that I couldn't go forward with that aspect of my life before fixing myself. And OPT was not the only therapy that I did, but I was led to OPT, and OPT was a turning point. It definitely changed my outlook on life and my outlook on myself. And immediately, when I knew that I was going to get married, I asked my wife if we could do the therapy, because I did one-on-one with Lorraine previously. And then I knew the OPT was necessary. I knew I didn't want, especially with the rate of divorce and separation, and so I didn't want to start that chapter in my life without setting a good foundation. And I really do believe that the OPT gave a solid foundation and a solid start to our life together.
How did it do that?
No man is an island, And I definitely was the type of person to believe that I can do everything. You know, I didn't need help. And I used to dismiss a lot. As they say, you push stuff under the rug. And actually, one of the other elements that factored it into my life, I went to confession once. And the priest asked me if I believe in Satan, and I said, no. And he said, not because you don't believe means that it does not exist. And not believing will not get rid of it in your life. And that opened me up to a lot. And as I said, I did other therapy as well. I went to a psychologist once who told me that he could administer drugs. He could see me every week, but the change would lie in my ability to want to change and my effort as well. And so it made me realize that, okay, as people, as human beings, we do need help. We're not perfect all the time. You hear that word flying around a lot, perfectionists. A lot of people believe that they are perfectionists. But we do have to sit back at time and find ourselves and fine-tune our lives. I don't think that I'm perfect now. I think that there's still work to be done, and it is a work in progress. And with continuous work, it will reach to that point where I'm comfortable. You know, so every so often we encounter problems or new situations, and we take a look at ourselves and we say, okay, checkpoint, and we do the necessary to get back to that place of satisfaction, or at least that's what I do.
But in the actual therapy itself,
yes.
Where did you regress to?
I think I had more than one point of pain, but I remember going as far back as a teenager, just starting secondary school. And it was actually very early in therapy that Lorraine pointed it out to me, and she pointed out the amount of things that stemmed from it. And going back and actually checking the dates, I was actually surprised that, okay, as soon as this particular incident happened, it followed with this, that, and the other. And it was really amazing to look back on it, because you never put the scenarios and the instances together until, well, it was told to me. And yeah, so it was from that point of being a teenager and experiences the challenges that come at that point in your life. Yeah, it was family oriented, and so much stemmed out of that one situation that was pinpointed to me. I could actually see the fall off as time went on.
Teia,
Yeah.
I see you shaking your head in affirmation.
Yes, I mean, my situation is not like the other testimonies you would hear where everybody feels like they are disconnected or there's a void. Mine was simply that, like you said, we were getting ready to get married, and he asked me to do these sessions with him just so that we could go into the marriage open-hearted and with the understanding of what comes with marriage, so that for longevity we could just understand each other and know how to raise children and be the best parents that we could be. And I went, and we were blessed to have Lorraine as our OPT administrator. She was very comforting, very understanding, easy to talk to. I have never said I would never go to therapy, but I've heard stories, and you know, there are a lot of therapists who can say, come back every week, I'll give you drugs, it'll go away. You know, we didn't get that impression. They genuinely wanted to help us regress and learn about ourselves. I think I went as far back as when I was 6 years old, and I didn't even expect it. I didn't know that it was there. I didn't know it was something that was just lingering, but as Lorraine mentioned, you know, there's the subconscious, and it was definitely there. And you get emotional. It really does break you down sometimes, but then it builds you up. With the group sessions that we had, you know, there are a lot of people there that you didn't think go through the same thing that you do, you know, and there's so many people out there with different scenarios, even the same scenarios, and it's just comforting to know that there are a lot of people there you can talk to, and instances that you can come out, like Damian said, not perfect, but you know how to deal with these circumstances. And I think we co-parent a lot better when we realize, okay, looking on from different scenarios with our parents, other parents on the outside, we learn we listen and we thank our parents for the support that they've given us, but we definitely sit down and say, listen, we don't want to, disregard each other's opinion. We definitely want to take each other's opinion into consideration, and let's do it together so that our son, 2 years old now, can see how good we are parents together and not separately.
How very responsible of you to
Yes.
take that action. It's not often that we hear this level of responsibility, particularly from younger people looking into plan their future and to plan parenting and so on. Teia, how has this impacted on your marriage aside from parenting?
Well, I have learned about myself. I'm one who tends to not really say no to anything or anybody. So I try to be superwoman and do everything and be everything to everybody. And I've learned that I can't do that. I physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually can't do that. So I've learned to prioritize. I've learned to better manage my time. Definitely put family, God first, and just let faith lead the way. Everything falls into place. And like we said, Lorraine and the OPT administrators are there for the support. We definitely know we can give Lorraine a call anytime that we need to. And my husband, he is very supportive. When I come home from work and I'm tired and I'm stressed, he picks up my son, takes him for a walk, gives him dinner, tells me go and lie down, and it's the little things that count. It really does help.
Damian, how has it impacted from your perspective?
Well, I think the good thing is that we did the OPT together, and I mean there were a lot of things that we discussed afterwards, and it gave me in particular a much clearer picture of who Teia is, what triggers her, what she wants at certain times, and it makes you a lot more sensitive to certain situations. So I guess we do quarrel. I mean, as I say, we're not perfect, but the understanding is there. So I kind of know, okay, she has gotten to her limit. Let me take a different approach. Let me give it a rest. And then on my end, it also, as I said before, I could have assumed that I was Superman and just, do everything. And no, I need the support. So there are times, just as she said, there are times that I come home and I just shut off, and she will pick up the slack. And it's a much better team approach, and we're hoping that it goes a long way. And
How long have you been married now?
3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're new in Ted, but we think we've definitely taken the right steps. We've done all the right courses. We're listening and talking to all the right people, praying very hard because we want to make it work. Really want to do this for the long run.
And what advice would you have for other young couples in particular?
Relative to OPT, I would say fix yourself before you go out and get married or into a relationship, especially a long-term relationship with someone. Because, for example, in Teia's instance, I don't even think that she thought she had pain until doing OPT, am I right? So a lot of the times we may think that yes, we're ready, we're good, and it's only when you're into the situation that you may realize, okay, I ain't over my head, maybe I have some issue. So I would suggest to people in general, go ahead, find yourself. During the time that I was doing OPT, I also read a book that inspired me to open my mind to new things. I was very close-minded to certain things before. It's called The Purpose-Driven Life, because we need to find ourselves before we can go out and accomplish anything. If you don't, I think it's only a matter of time before you falter. Yeah, you need to build a very strong foundation, and you need to build good character, no matter who you are. Because I've seen a lot of good, strong character, strong-minded people having issues and sweeping it under the rug. It's behind the scenes, behind closed doors. And in life, that's what really matters. It's what goes on behind closed doors. It's not what goes on in the public. So if you fix yourself and you have good relations behind closed doors, I think it will show in public, and you should have a pretty good life in face value,
I'd like to tell young people, don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to ask for help. you need it. You need the
Yeah.
support. You need to be able to talk and communicate, especially with your spouse. Be open, you know, and just pray. You know, there's whoever, just pray for whoever. Reach out, ask for forgiveness, ask for support, you know, and just be yourself. Don't be anybody else but yourself.
Well, I wish you both the very best. I wish you both many, many, many years and many children.
Thank you.
And,
I'm
you know,
going
just
for
a happy
10.
life. What's that?
I'm going for 10.
For you. This has been their real life. I'm Nicole.
I want some good news today.
Who smell good vegan Jad? And in the news tonight.
So this is Gary. Gary's my son, and the reason why I brought him into the closing shot is because everything that we've spoken about over the last few episodes really has a direct link to the way in which we treat with our young people, the way in which we would like our young people to continue on their trajectory of a positive influence and impact in life. So I wanted him to be a part of this as well. This entire original pain therapy, the fact that we spoke about school violence last time, has a direct link to what we would want for our young people moving forward. And I hope that the last few episodes would really have had some type of impact in those young people who might be looking, in those older people who might have some responsibility for younger people, to find a way to reach out. There are so many different things that we can do to find solutions to many of the challenges we have today facing our society, and that directly relate to our young people. So it is with that in mind, I hope you got something from this episode on original pain therapy. I thought it was a fantastic episode, great information, and I'm so thankful for those persons who came forward to share their stories with us. I'm thankful to Lorraine for sharing about the original pain therapy, and I'm thankful for you for continuing to watch the program, for continuing to tell us how very informative it has been, and you know, it has been a great run. So on behalf of Gary and I, this has been Real Life. I'm Nicole Dyer Griffith. Thank you. Have a good one.
That is what I say. I want to hear it. Nobody